So, today is September 11th, and on this day 20 years ago, the whole world was caught in shock as two planes crashed into the Twin Towers at the World Trade Center in New York City. Um, I think it's a bit like, Princess Diana's death, the shooting of JFK, maybe landing on the moon. They're kind of events where you always remember where you were, assuming you're old enough to remember them. And for me, I was on the Greek island of Corfu, and I remember really clearly as I was driving along on a scooter, and I was driving past a bar, an outside bar, and I saw something weird out the corner of my eye that everyone was staring at. And so I turned around, we went straight there, and we saw and joined everyone who was staring in shock at what was unfolding before our eyes. It was unbelievable. And I think in that one moment, everyone was there feeling everything for those inhabitants of New York, those people caught in the Twin Towers. And of course, straight after that event, the whole world was with America, and rightly so. And the big tragedy is that afterwards, all that good feeling and that goodwill and that desire to support America was squandered in a terrible 20 years of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And we've just had the withdrawal from Afghanistan just before the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And I think terrible though that day was on 9/11, the hundreds of thousands of people that have been somehow killed and displaced and otherwise endured a terrible time in no way kind of makes up for that single act of, well, it was several planes, so more than one act, but one day of terror here in America. Nonetheless, I did want today to have a drink to sort of commemorate not just that day and the sort of stuff that happened afterwards, but to remember the people who were there, the incredibly brave people who were there on the flights and in the Twin Towers and all around the city. And so obviously to drink a Manhattan of some description. I've already made recipes for a regular Manhattan, for a burnt Manhattan, but I did come across one called Manhattan Island, and that's what we're going to make today. It doesn't make the drink with the usual rye whiskey, which we typically associate with a Manhattan. This instead uses cognac, and I'm using a VSOP cognac. And my friend Dan always says that, we drink these drinks with whiskey first, but cognac would have been typically, and brandy would have been the drinks in the original cocktails. Well, this recipe then is a nod to that. It uses these good ingredients, and I think it's a fitting drink to remember that terrible day 20 years ago. So, as I said, it's a cognac drink. I'm going to use my Courvoisier VSOP, 2 ounces of that. And it's a Manhattan. So it does take sweet vermouth. I would typically use Antica Formula, or I'd use maybe Cinzano Rosso, which is fantastic in this. But what I have in is Noyer Prat sweet vermouth. It's slightly cheating a little bit because it's a French vermouth, and typically the sweet ones are Italian. But that is what it is. 2 French drinks here, which when I think about it, is also kind of appropriate because, that symbol of New York, the Statue of Liberty, was of course gifted to America, I think on the centennial of independence. So maybe French is okay, despite the whole afterwards, the freedom fries attack on the French. French have been good friends to America over a good number of years, helped kick the British out, let's not forget. So, maybe the French get a bit of a bad rap with this. Just to add to that as well, the French were right to not want to get involved in those wars of attrition after 9/11, because they were a nightmare, and we got caught in that quagmire for, as I say, 20 years. There's still some people in Guantanamo, as a result of that war on terror, that haven't even faced trial yet. I mean, that is ridiculous. That is a true travesty. Anyway, I don't want to get too political about this. This really is to remember the people who did in fact lose their lives then, and I never would want to take away from that. Anyway, it's 1 ounce of sweet vermouth. And then this drink takes a little departure from what we'd typically consider a Manhattan, with the addition of 1/6 of an ounce of maraschino liqueur. Now, it's a bit tricky because I don't have something that measures a sixth, but it turns out 1/6 of an ounce is 5 milliliters. Who knew that the metric system would actually be a better way of measuring out and getting the correct proportions? But sometimes it just is. So I'm going to put in 5 mils of Luxardo maraschino liqueur, like so, or rather 1/6 of an ounce. And then finally, this takes a good amount of Angostura bitters, 3 dashes to be exact, which is about that much. I mean, dash is not the most precise measurements in the world. I've talked about this in other videos. It's kind of what you feel it's going to be. It's very hard to put too much on, unless you're making a Trinidad Especial, which uses ounces of the stuff and is delicious as well. Go with what you like with many of these. But what you saw me put in, that was about 3 dashes. So the usual 20-second stir or so. I believe we're more or less at that now. To do this, we're going to strain our drink into a chilled cocktail glass. There we go. And then this calls for a skewered, and I'm not very good at skewering things. I'll give it a try. Let's see. Nope, you see I'm terrible at this. So I'm going to scoop out a Luxardo maraschino cherry onto my toothpick like so. How am I sorry is it? Right, skewer, let's call it a skewer. And let's put that in there like so. That looks great. Let's see what we've got. That's great. That's a fitting tribute to the brave people from 9/11. Cheers.